Welcome to my first ever Iceberg video, and this will be a 6-part series of the ultimate Red Dead Redemption Iceberg. If you don't know how an iceberg works, well, it starts with commonly known things in the community of the topic, and farther down the iceberg, the topics are less and less known. So without further ado, let's dive into the Red Dead Redemption Iceberg. Undead Nightmare is well known for the expansion pack for Red Dead Redemption 1 for John Marston, but this entry is focused on the second entry of the series, Undead Nightmare 2, his speculated expansion pack for Red Dead Redemption 2, made by Rockstar Games that adds a whole new single-player story mode, as well as new multiplayer modes focusing on Arthur Morgan as he searches for a way to stop the outbreak of supernatural creatures spreading around each of the states. Not only zombies, but vampires and werewolves as well. The story of Undead Nightmare 2 is non-canon, as it coincides with the same timeline as Red Dead Redemption 2. This is just speculation and not an actual announcement by Rockstar, but it would be awesome to see this added into the series. Black Belle is one of the most famous gunslingers Arthur is told to track down in the Stranger mission. This gunslinger, in particular, is different compared to the others. Instead of being hostile and ending in a duel, she instead wants help from Arthur. In the mission, you end up shooting enemies and getting a picture of Black Belle to help with the Stranger mission. As known in the game, New Austin is not available for Arthur to enter, due to the Blackwater Massacre. But it wasn't always meant to be this way. Using glitches and exploits, the player can actually see that Arthur has set dialogue options and journal entries that point to the fact that Arthur was meant to be able to access this area of the map.
What the townfolk want. Trying to stop the spread. Terrible business. Lucrative, I have to say.
Hidden cheat codes. There are many hidden cheat codes found throughout the game. These can be found throughout the world, such as etched into ice, or even a crashed ship. These cheat codes can give the player a number of different abilities and perks, such as unlimited money or ammo, and a number of different things along those lines. The Sasquatch. In RDR2, there can be found a large skeleton high up in the mountains above the town of Strawberry. There you can see a very large skeleton that could either be the remains of a large giant or the remains of Bigfoot. There is no definitive answer to what this creature is, but there are many speculations. Dutch's head injury. If you've played through the 4th chapter of the game, you know that during the robbery mission, Dutch heavily injures his head. Dutch can later comment on how much pain he has in his head that is from the trolley incident. This has caused many people to believe that this has caused his poor decision making later throughout the story. Many think this marker in the story led to the gang's later demise. The Aberdeen Pig Farm. A pretty popular entry on the list is the Aberdeen Pig Farm. Well known from the relationship from the brother and sister, gives the place a weird vibe. And if you end up eating at their place, you'll get drugged and then knocked out and robbed of all your belongings. This is one very well known entry into the list. Jack Marston's real father. Jack Marston's real father is a highly speculated topic among the community. The reason for this speculation is because Jack Marston's mom, Abigail Marston, was formerly a prostitute and slept around with many of the gang members before finally joining the gang and in a relationship with John Marston. But Many believe that John isn't Jack's real father. Instead, they think that Javier Escuela. The reason for this thought is because in Red Dead Redemption 1, grown-up Jack looks a lot like Javier. But this speculation seems to be turned down by Rockstar, and it is canon that John was Jack's father. El Chupacabra. The Chupacabra can be found in Red Dead Redemption 1, Undead Nightmare. It is one of the cryptids you can find in the game that you can hunt down and kill it. It is one necessary animal to achieve 100% completion in Undead Nightmare DLC. The Strange Man is one of the most mysterious characters in both games. Personally, I'm surprised this character isn't deeper in the Iceberg. But, anyway, this character is featured in both titles, Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2. Although, the Strange Man is a lot larger figure in the first game, he's still implemented in the second.
Not really.
Then why would you remember me, friend? You've forgotten far more important people than me.
What's your game, friend?
I don't have a game, John. Listen, sometimes I just wish I'd known more about life.
Jenny's Faith is a stranger mission in Red Dead Redemption 1. During this stranger mission, she is caught up in a bad place in the middle of the desert. She asks John for medicine, and John gives her medicine, and then John offers to give her a ride back into town, but she then declines. That is the end of the stranger mission, and days later, if you return, you will find her dead body.
Can I take you back into town?
Praise you, Savior. I knew you'd save me.
Will you come with me?
Oh, I'm fine here, mister. I'm in heaven. Heaven.
The Wreck of Serendipity is a crashed ship in Red Dead Redemption 1. There isn't much information on the ship itself, but it is theorized that the Waltons gang raided, destroyed, and looted everything in the vessel. As well, the ship is said to be haunted, and you can hear creepy things around the ship. Mac and Davy Callender were two criminals who joined Dutch's gang around 1898. According to Charles Smith, both of the men were very violent and wild. Many of the gang members mentioned how strong both of the brothers were, and they were very skilled fighters. But, during the Blackwater robbery, Davy was shot and got rescued by the gang, but later on died right at the beginning of the game. Mac escaped, but was tracked down and killed by Agent Milton with the Pinkerton Detective Agency. Karen Jones is one of the better-known women members in the gang, although she has a brief love affair with Sean McGuire, and after his death, Karen's alcoholism worsens, and she is usually found drunk at camp. Karen eventually leaves the gang during its downfall, and her fate is unknown, but Tilly thinks that she drank herself to death. Jake Adler was Sadie Adler's husband. In the first mission of the game, you will find to seek shelter in the snowstorm. Arthur, Micah, and Dutch all go out to a local home, and inside find a small group of O'Driscolls. After you clear out the area, Micah will find Sadie Adler hiding in the basement. Sadie will then go in and explain that the O'Driscolls killed her husband while they took over her home. Jake Adler is also implemented into Red Dead Redemption Online, having a mission that allows the player to talk to him. The ancient Aztec mask is the reason for the zombie outbreak in Red Dead Redemption 1 Undead Nightmare. The mask being disturbed is what caused the zombie outbreak. In Red Dead Redemption 2, the mask can be seen in Saint Denis Fence and also Old Man's Camp in Red Dead Online. It would be interesting to see if the mask could be added to make Undead Nightmare 2. Nigel and Gavin. Nigel is a character that can be found in many towns around the states in Red Dead Redemption 2, usually found yelling his friend's name, Gavin. When the player interacts with Nigel, he questions if the player has seen his friend anywhere. Arthur then answers no, and then Nigel continues to yell for his friend. Many think that Nigel and Gavin are actually the same person because he has schizophrenia or personality disorder.
Gavin? No. We were best mates. I mean, really, best mates. He'd never leave me. Never. Have?
Don't see that every day.
I've lost my friend.
Seth Byers. Seth Byers was a side character in Red Dead Redemption 1, being a creepy character asking John to do tasks. He is also featured in Undead Nightmare, being the main cause of John's rising from the grave at the end of the game. Although in Red Dead Redemption 2, Seth cannot be found anywhere, other than cut content. In the game files, there can be found a Seth Byers character model, indicating Seth was supposed to be in the main story or online. Bill Williamson's sexuality. Bill Williamson is one of Dutch's right-hand men, although one often questioned theory is that Bill is gay. Many thinking this because of Arthur saying, is he going to punch him or kiss him during the fight mission, or Hosea making fun of Bill having a relationship with a man named Phil. Other than that, not much is mentioned about his sexuality, but the main theory is that he is homosexual.
Hey! There he is!
Watch where you're going! Take it easy,
Are you about to kiss that guy or punch him?
Oh, and we have our answer!
Lenny and Jenny could never have worked. That's like Arthur and Martha, or Bill and Phil.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
The Otis Miller treasure is found by 2 pieces of treasure map you will get from killing 2 hermits around the map. Once you receive these 2 pieces of the map, you will be able to track down and locate where the treasure is. The treasure is located north of Armadillo, and you will find it inside of a cave. The treasure itself includes Otis Miller's revolver, along with 6 pictures of erotic photographs. Pleasance is an abandoned settlement in Scarlet Meadows area in the state of Lemoyne. The town was founded in August of 1883 and was later abandoned due to a brutal massacre that left 10 residents dead. The killer was never identified. Also, Pleasance was also struck by a plague, with many buildings with boarded up signs saying, "Stay out plague," as well with signs saying, "Unclean sinners," and all with sins. Many think this place is home to many demons or even the devil, causing such a large amount of misfortune to the residents of the town. As well, there is a large snake south of the town in a tree, possibly referencing the story of Adam and Eve. The Saint Denis vampire is a creature or man that can be found in a back alley. You can see this creature by finding a collection of writings throughout the city. Once you encounter this creature, you will find him sucking the blood out of a man.
What, you're a vampire?
I have been called many names over the centuries. Now go, or I'll feed on you too.
You're a goddamn idiot.
I'll suck you dry.
The Geogod Panther is a panther located in Lemoyne. This is the final legendary animal you need to kill. To kill this panther, you need to complete all 9 hunter challenges first. This will allow you to get the garment set as well. American Appetites is a 3-part stranger mission in Red Dead Redemption 1. This stranger mission is about a mother looking for her son. John then goes out looking for him. He then finds a man who has the son hostage. In the final part of the mission, the man eats the guy, and John will be able to choose what happens. Allow the cannibal to eat the man, kill the cannibal, or do nothing.
Oh, mister! Some city fella just attacked me and broke my leg.
What?
He broke my leg. Some city fella. Guy got kind of creepy on me, and then he got violent.
When?
Just now. He ran off that way. Can't have gone too far.
Gertrude Braithwaite is a member of the Braithwaite family. She is disfigured and mentally unwell, so the family ended up locking her outside of an outhouse. Arthur can also end up seeing her in the outhouse and asking if she needs any help.
Who are you?
Who's out there? Somebody's out there.
What do you want?
The Meteor House is located in Roanoke Ridge in the state of New Hanover. The house is a cabin on a cliff and was struck by a fairly large meteor, and the family living inside is mangled from the impact.
What the hell?
The Giant in Amberino. Not much is known about the Giant in Amberino, other than he lives in a cave on the east side of the state. The Giant speaks from within the cave, and the player is never able to even see the character. He will greet the player, and the two will have a short interaction.
Friend? How are you? I'm rather lonely. You see, I'm too big. I haven't got any friends because I'm too big.
Is that so?
Yes. Yes, it is so. That's sort of why I said it. That and because I was lonely and wanted to talk. Maybe we could be friends. I've always wanted a real friend. Someone to discuss.
Clausen's Rest is a weird family found north of Valentine. You can see this family in a mission with Javier. They are all hermits and even have their own weird dialect.
What the heck? You bleaching cur!
The mythical horses are all horses found in Undead Nightmare DLC. These horses include war, famine, pestilence, and death, all having their own specific powers. Edmund Lowry Jr. is a serial killer found in the second game. You can find dead bodies all throughout the game, and eventually you will get led to him. His cellar is located west of Valentine, and you will then fight Edmund and then eventually take him to jail, but then he will eventually get killed by Arthur.
Well, it ain't nothing nice. A lot of folk disappeared over the past few years. This sick son of a bitch, well, he ain't right in the head.
That's so.
Head over to the cellar of that broke-down shack on the road to the falls. See for yourself.
Okay, come on, you.
My name is Edmund Lowry Jr., and you'll remember that, my friend.
I'm sure I shall. You
The Antler Knife is a unique knife found northwest of Hanging Dog Ranch. You will find a dead bear laying on top of a man. It seems that the man was getting mauled to death and killed the bear with his knife, and then the bear died on top of him, which made him not be able to get out from underneath it. The ruins of Lymphony. Lymphony is a burned-down settlement south of Valentine. There are a large amount of kerosene and tar barrels, suggesting that the company did business throughout the town. This area of the map is named after John O'Craig, who was the original voice actor for Uncle in Red Dead Redemption 1, who passed away in 2016 during development. The Viking Tomb in the Old World Scripts. The Viking Tomb is a place in Roanoke Ridge, and you'll be able to find and read many scripts from the early Vikings. You'll be able to find a helmet as well in the tombs. Charles Kinnear's Flying Machines. Charles Kinnear is an engineer and interactable character in the first Red Dead. He's a stranger mission in the first and mentioned in the second Red Dead Redemption. He's trying to make a flying machine and, as seen through the map, fails many times. Eventually, in Red Dead Redemption 1, he dies trying to show John his invention.
Of equilibrium, and learned it so thoroughly that its skill is not apparent to our sight. We only learn to appreciate it when we try to imitate it. And I, Charles Kinnear, will now demonstrate here the miracle of flight. Into the wild blue yonder, Marston. Oh, dear.
Francis Sinclair, the Time Traveler. Francis Sinclair is a minor character in the second Red Dead Redemption. He is found in the Geology for Beginners Stranger mission. Francis is met outside of Strawberry and asks the player to find many rock carvings throughout the map. And once the player finds all of these, he will return and find Francis as a baby, suggesting he is a time traveler.
He's been dead since just before Francis was born 1 year ago.
Your husband, Francis, is dead.
No, this is Francis. My husband, Tom, is dead.
I'm a little confused.
Yes, I think you are. What was your name?
It ain't important. Excuse me.
Tommy is a character found in the bar fight mission in Chapter 2. Tommy is a huge man, and Arthur and Tommy fight, and eventually Arthur almost kills him during the fight. Tommy can then be seen in the Lenny and Arthur mission, and Tommy doesn't seem to be okay anymore. He is now mentally challenged and doesn't know what is happening, showing how badly Arthur beat him up. John the Drunk can be found in the Valentine Bar, always seen drunk and drinking, also always claiming his hate towards Native Americans, saying he also killed many Native Americans years earlier, and even saying he ate one of their hearts. He gets mad very easily and is one of the hardest fistfights throughout the game. John is a very interesting character. Bonnie McFarlane's Lover. In your travels, you can find a body of a man with a note called Letter to Bonnie. The body is laying near an overturned rowboat and a couple of chests. When you approach the location of the body, it will be marked on your mini-map. In the main map is a corpse. When you try to loot him, he will suddenly come alive, thrust the note into your hands, and then die. The note includes, Dear Miss McFarland, I'm sorry. I said it. I'm sorry. You're right. I do let things get out of control in my head. I always have. I see that, but I love you. We are meant to be together. It is our destiny. I know it is. I saw us in our dream, raising kids. You were very happy as my wife, and I was proud to be your husband. Dreams don't lie, and neither do I. I'm heading off to make my fortune, and when I come back a rich man, you'll see what a fine husband I will make you, and a father to our children. And no, I won't grow up. On that subject, you're wrong. I've got so many things to say to you. I'm going to continue with the writing of this letter later, but believe me when I say, we are destined for a long, happy life together. Even your father will come to believe and accept me, no matter how humble my birth. Princess Isabeau is a missing character in Red Dead Redemption 2. You can find a poster with her reward for her retrieval. It is said that the princess went missing after visiting the United States for a hunting trip. There are many theories on what happened to her. The theories for her disappearance include she was abducted, murdered, or even eaten by wild animals. Other than the reward poster, not much else is listed on the disappearance of the princess. Baylock is Micah's horse in Red Dead Redemption 2. Throughout the story of Red Dead Redemption 1, your horse changes based on your honor level. A bright-colored horse indicating they have high honor, and a dark-colored horse indicating that you have low honor. This is a very possible reason that Micah has a dark horse, because of his low morality and honor. Hayden Russell is a minor character you can run across in your travels in Red Dead Redemption 2. Hayden Russell was a U.S. volunteer captain for the Civil War. You can come across his base through Roanoke Ridge. Once come across, Hayden will point his rifle at you, asking, "Are you north or south?" Then, the player tells him that the war has been over for decades. Hayden has believed that the year was April 14th of 1862, and was awaiting orders to move to Saint Denis, showing that he hadn't realized the war had been over for so many years. Guarma is a tropical island visited in Chapter 4. While visiting the island, there are many unique and exclusive animals that are only killable and lootable during that part of the story. The exclusive animals include the blue and yellow macaw, Cuban land crab, the fer-de-lance snake, the great green macaw, the green iguana, the rainbow boa snake, the red boa snake, the red-footed booby, the scarlet macaw, and the sun glow boa snake. The Banjo Mutant is a character you can come across in the town of Butcher's Creek. He has a form of disease, most likely caused by iodine deficiency, causing the area of his neck to deform and enlarge. He is often seen playing songs with his banjo on the front porch of his house. The mysterious Hill Home is a point of interest in Red Dead Redemption 2, and it is located in the Grizzlies East region of the Ambarino territory. Not much is known about this mysterious hill house. Many think it is a reference to the Hobbit holes in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. As well, the symbol of the Chelonians is located on the roof of the home, indicating that it is used or was used by the Chelonian cult. Standing beside a mill appears to be a remains of a woman with her head supplemented by that of a donkey. The donkey lady is a reference to a glitch of the same name in Red Dead Redemption, where the game would spawn an NPC with the AI in the face of a donkey. This glitch became popular after a YouTube channel by the name of Where Does Boots made a video showcasing the glitch.
On her face a little. Now, the donkey woman likes to take us places. As you can see, she's very fast on her feet. Hi-ho, Silva! Look at her go. Danny, would you please disembark?
Red Dead Redemption allows players to travel to Mexico during the story. Although in Red Dead Redemption 2 it is inaccessible, surprising though, there is a lot of detailed parts of the map in the out of bounds of Mexico. The out of bounds includes huge rock structures and even a fort of a building. It is interesting to see that Rockstar included these details even though they are inaccessible. Possibly a DLC in the future? Who knows? In 1881, the man was a normal young man who lived with his family. His father gave him a shotgun and started taking him hunting. But the young man found out he did not enjoy it and was upset by the sight of a bird being killed. Eventually, he decided to leave his family and stayed out with the wilderness on his own. In January of 1882, the man found a group of wolf pups who seemed to form an attachment to him. Sometime between 1882 and 1899, the man began to live with the wolves and became feral, mimicking the actions of the wolves and howling like one too. He also began to refrain from wearing clothes and only uses his knife to hunt. The player can encounter him 3 different times. In the first and second encounter, he is running through the wolves and howling in the forests of Roanoke Ridge, especially near the side of the old tomb. For the third encounter, he can be tracked back to his cave, where he will set his wolves on the player. If the wolves are killed, he will drop to the floor in agony. A journal can be found in the cave, detailing his backstory and showing the lead up to how he became feral and mad. When the player arrives at Marco's lab in Dover Hill, Marco is exhausted and he asks the player to help him to set up his electrical conductors outside of the lab. After setting up the conductors, he will tell them to turn on his power relay outside of the lab. He will reveal to the player that he has created a robot. The electricity will enter the robot and the robot will spring to life, but will lose power. Marco is happy that his creation came to life and happy that he has finally achieved something in his life. The player will then exit the workshop and leave him alone. The final encounter, the player can visit Marco's lab later, but unfortunately, Marco is found dead and the robot has disappeared. Then, you can find a piece of paper that is about a note of the robot in the electric lantern. The robot can be found near Coulter, and footprints are seen. The robot is seen sitting on the peak of the mountain and will be heard saying, "Papa." If the robot is shot, the body will lean forward slightly and the arm will stop sparking. However, the light on the top of his head will still keep shining. The Ghost of Agnes Dowd. According to the cries of her spectral form, Agnes fell in love with a man that her parents did not approve of, and would meet him by an old tree in Bluewater Marsh for secret trysts. After he impregnated Agnes with a baby boy, he abandoned her for another woman, exposing her relationship to her family. Much to their disgrace and leaving her unwanted by other male suitors, although Agnes was eventually able to dissuade her lover from following his other relationship, she was unable to convince her mother and father that he was worthy of her. That ultimately resulted in the elder Dowd drawing a weapon and killing her love, to Agnes's horror. The course and conclusion of this violent confrontation are unknown, though it is implied that following this event, Agnes had a mental breakdown and murdered her father in revenge, and possibly her mother, son, and or others, before finally hanging herself by a tree she used to meet her lover at, hoping she could find there in their death. A simple tombstone bearing her name, age, and alleged crime stands among others in the Shady Bell private graveyard. Agnes can be seen as a ghost in Blue Water Marsh between 9 p.m. and 3 a.m., usually during foggy weather. She can be encountered 16 times and will disappear if the player comes too close to her. At each encounter, she will relive the events of her life story, which eventually led to her death, which shall be in random order. In the last encounter, she will talk to the player, confusing him for her lover, and invite him to know the tree by which she hanged herself. The man-made mutant is a possible reference to the monster Man-Bear-Pig from the animated sitcom South Park, being cobbled together from the parts of various deceased creatures, including a human. It may also be a reference to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Although the mansion is always vacant, the fireplace remains lit. The Blackwater Athletics Team. Members of the Blackwater Athletics team are still missing, and their friends and family are excited by their gravest fears. They were last seen leaving the north edge of town for a group athletics run, and although the most search has been mowed for them, they cannot be found. Certain facts around their disappearance have been given cause for suspicion. The affair has created a sensation in Blackwater and the surrounding community. They have departed on a run and had intended to return the same evening. Their friends are making a vigilant search, and police in neighboring areas have been notified. At first, there were rumors they have been kidnapped by Indians. However, this appears to be false, as no tribes have engaged in theft of livestock or kidnapping in some years. The Blackwater Athletics team were training for a competitive meet next month and were expected to take top honors in fencing, wrestling, and baseball. The deceased members of the athletics team, identifiable by their uniforms, can be found in the mass grave in tall trees, just south of the second L in the tall trees of the map. The killer is most likely Edmund Lowry Jr., due to the fact they both have a grave, and in his basement there is a letter B made by limbs of the athletes. Located on Mount Hagen, Amberino, you can find the points of interest, the Frozen Settler. It is here that you can find the remains of the Frozen Settler. Don't forget, after inspecting the points of interest, you can take the helmet that the skeleton is wearing. The man's dress is distinctly Spanish in appearance. He is every bit the archetypical conquistador. Explorers from the centuries past who first plotted these lands from European eyes. How he ended up in the mountain, alone and unburied, far from where the Spanish fastnesses are known to have been, is a mystery. The pagan ritual site. It would appear that this location was due to the actions of the murderous practitioner of a witchcraft and or the worship of dark pagan deity. Given the violent nature of the scene and the presence of an horned animal skull taking the place of the human's corpse head, it is possible that this ritual could have been the representation of Satan or some other dark deity. If the player takes the skull and then comes back to the site of a later date, a new rotten corpse, painted with a bizarre symbol, will be at the site, lying in a pool of blood. The pagan ritual seems to have been performed by the night folk, in which possesses the same voodoo sigils seen around their territories, such as the K, and indicates that they operate in other regions beyond their main territory. This also might be connected to Edmund Lowry Jr., however this is not confirmed. Lowry's victims were executed in a similar way though. A theory has emerged around the true identity of the informant in Red Dead Redemption 2, and the argument is that it was never Micah that was the rat. Will require some suspension of belief of the story does specifically show that Michael worked to undermine Dutch's confidence and shatter his trust in his allies. However, YouTuber Phoebe Gaming thinks that the Abigail was putting plans in place to guarantee her safety and Jack's safety from the start. When Arthur and Jack are fishing, the Pinkertons find them and ask the location of Dutch Vanderlyn, promising Arthur he would have immune from consequences if he betrayed the gang. Phoebe Gaming points out that agents know precisely where Arthur and Jack are, which is odd. Could Abigail have arranged the meeting, knowing that Arthur wouldn't react aggressively with Jack in his care? Phoebe Gaming also points out that, at this point in the game, Hosea is often the one to look after Jack, while Abigail is busy. So why didn't Abigail ask Hosea to take Jack on the fishing trip? Later on in the story, Abigail is the only one who isn't present when Agent Ross and Milton arrive at the camp. And the Saint Denis heist goes very wrong very quickly, and Hosea and John are captured. Hosea and Abigail were together, so there's a question of Abigail's escape, and John is taken alive by the Pinkertons, where there really isn't any benefit for them to not kill him. Dutch literally demonstrates this when he and Arthur are in the caves in Gorma, but he's much more focused on John's possible treachery. There are other signifiers that Abigail, in which the real rat, in their reaction to Molly's confession, and that Milton says that Micah's involvement only occurred after Guarma. Of course, it's up to you to decide how much you subscribe to this theory, but it's an interesting exploration of the game's exceptional writing. The Vetter's Echo Bear. Vetter's Echo cabin in Red Dead Redemption 2 in the Big Valley region of the West Elizabeth territory. When the player enters the shack, a large grizzly bear can be seen. This bear quickly attacks the player, and the player is left to fight off the beast. Inside of the desk drawers, the Dear Annabella poem and a Day's Walk poem can be found. The It's Art achievement is achieved by doing a lot of tasks for the taxidermist lady next to Strawberry. This is a very tedious and annoying achievement. I know personally because I got all the achievements in the game, and by far this is the worst one to get. You are able to place the trophy or statue in Beecher's Hope, with a short cutscene playing when John places it.
What is that?
It's art.
Oh, that's what they call it.
In the woods near Saint Denis, you can find and come across a crying lady in the swamp. If the player tries to help her, she will stab you and you will get attacked by many night folk. Many think this lady is from the folklore of La Llorona. In short, don't help her. You'll regret it. The Hannes Bethel UFO sightings. Many strange aliens make brief appearances within Red Dead Redemption 2. While no physical aliens can be seen, or had been seen, a few notable sightings of the aliens, flying saucers, and UFOs have been observed around the southern western United States. While it's never truly established on what kind of aliens these are, or what they look like, the number of sightings and evidence suggests that they are dangerous towards humans. The biggest evidence being the main sightings of New Hanover, who treated them as higher deities. One such large alien activity is located within New Hanover, just to the east of the Heartland Overflow. Along the banks of a small pond, an old cabin known as Hannes Bethel. This area is currently in disrepair, with numerous bodies reportedly found as skeletons, still in bed with only one seated at an altar by the chimney, seemingly undisturbed. The family that once lived there was believed to have a cult-life ideology following an alien life form, with a note followed by the cult leader reading as follows. At the second hour under the half moon, by the great love and grace of our Savior Kunawanda, voyager of time and galaxies, we cast off our corporal shells, so his vessel can take in our spirits to the promised realm, to live in peace and power until the 2000th year, when we will return for the new chosen and worship once again at the peak of Mount Shan. In his love, we rejoice always. Some reports that a UFO could be spotted at 2 a.m. at night above this location. Though these reports are speculative at best, another infamous sighting at UFO described that flying saucers headed above high peaks of Mount Shan, collaborations of red and blue shining through the night, No reports of deaths or abductions linked to the sighting, however. It is interesting to see the UFOs in Red Dead Redemption 2. Miriam Wegner. Miriam is the daughter of Eugene Wegner, the owner of Emerald Ranch. It is known that Miriam was in a relationship with a local farm boy by the name of Joshua Burgess. However, after Joshua died in an accidental shooting, Miriam had been confined inside the family's house and is therefore never seen outside. Miriam can be looking outside the upstairs window around midnight and noon. It's very creepy nonetheless. The Coots Chapel Gravestones. Coots Chapel is an abandoned chapel in Red Dead Redemption 2, and in the Cahola Springs region of New Austin Territory. Coots Chapel is a small, isolated place of Christian worship. The chapel is run down, the windows old and cracked, the walls slowly crumbling or disappearing around the seats worn out. The chapel also maintains a graveyard. Among these graves, with legible inscriptions, lie most of the McFarland brothers, Priscilla Johnson, and Marshall Johnson's wife, and many other people. The graveyard is quiet, and the surrounding area's stone walls are either gone or broken. The iron fence is rusted. A lifeless tree sits in the center of the yard with scattered debris found lying around. The area surrounding the chapel has many ruined houses where all but the brick foundations have been gone. One gravestone in the chapel cemetery is dedicated to a cowboy with no name who died towards the end of the 19th century. This could be a tribute to the character played by Clint Eastwood. The grave is located just behind that one of Zeth is digging up with Marston for its measem. The grave star of Joseph Beard can be opened with a fire bottle. This is the same grave that is excavated by Zeth during the mission. This is either an Easter egg or just a glitch. Coots Chapel is possibly a nickname given to the area after it has been abandoned. It may be a reference to the crazy and undesirable people who hang around the area, as the word coot means old in the Western civilizations. The sun worshipper, Bob Brownlee, worships the sun, believing it to be a god. He can be encountered throughout New Austin. Bob Brownlee is seen basking in the sun, with his arms held high above his head. He then encourages John to join him in his worship, claiming the sun is the one, true God, also referring to it as the Helios, the name of the ancient Greeks gave to the god that they considered to be the embodiment of the sun. Brownlee claims that he does not eat or drink, but that the sunlight is all the subsistence he needs. The Dead Missionaries. Jesuit missionaries is a point of interest in Red Dead Redemption 2. This set of skeletal remains is located on the west end of New Austin, and is east of the Sea of Coronado. These appear to be the bones of a man who perished while traveling through New Austin sometime prior. Inspection of the remains revealed that they are over a century old, as arrested by a letter found in the skeleton's faded clothing. This letter comes from that of a man, a Jesuit by the name of Rofaldo, had become disillusioned with the Catholic Church and departed a Spanish mission in California to travel east, most likely to travel and spread the word of his faith. The author of the note, Cardinal Blanco, has attempted to dissuade Rodolfo from following this potentially dangerous course, and that the younger man's mind and skills would be better used among his fellows. Regardless, it appears that Rodolfo undertook the vainglorious journey alone, as Blanco feared, and perished in the attempt. Whether he died from exhaustion, starvation, or an animal attack, or more sinister causes, is unknown. Robert Elliot Patchman's notes. The note from Robert Elliot Patchman is one of the notes in Red Dead Redemption 2. The note reads, "To who finds this, I am told, by those who attend my shows, applauding mightily, throwing flowers upon the stage when I perform in San Francisco, or Chicago, San Denis, or New York, that I should be the happiest, gayest person alive, that when the curtain closes and the roar of applause engulfs, and when we walk back on the stage for a bow, I should be basking in dilation. Instead, I am ridiculed with despair. I need to be inebriated on wine or numb from iodine to relish and recapture the exhilarations I had as a child. Make no doubt, dear reader, that I grinned with delight upon seeing that I was featured on a card of Melicons cigarettes, the stars of the stage. I indeed Do not find it queer that my card was listed off Jim Cobb, who I dare say has not sold out theaters in New York to my level, which is for certain. But purchasing a packet of cigarettes and seeing my face inside did bring me joy, if briefly. I had to purchase a fair number to achieve this event, but if I did bring delight, these refined moments are few and far between. Looking in the mirror at the gray receding hairline, being called upon to play roles of fathers and old men rather than the dashing hero, the romantic lead, I can suffer these indigents no longer. I am a lover, a poet, not a grandfather, a gardener. Someone said that to ensure success in this life, all you need to do is ignorance and confidence. I'm anything but an ignorant fool, and my confidence is all things letters and love fades and grow flaccid as each season passes. I simply cannot endure the facet of enjoying this in the company of any of you one moment longer. I apologize for everything. Patchman was once a highly regarded stage actor who performed in big cities like Chicago, New York, San Francisco, and Saint Denis. In his later life, however, he just couldn't achieve happiness by portraying in the roles of fathers and old men, since he still saw himself in the hero's or the main character's role. The only thing that could still bring him joy was the fact that his face could only be seen on the Michelin's cigarette cards. In his suicide letter, he says goodbye to his acquaintances and for the last time by writing that he can no longer endure pretending to enjoy their company in his own existence. After putting down the note in his Nevada hat on a rock behind the waterfall at Granite Pass, Patchman likely took his own life by jumping down the waterfall. His hat and note can then be discovered by the player. However, the corpse is nowhere to be found. Kieran Duffy's death in the Saint Denis Seal. At some point during the night, Kieran was captured by the O'Driscolls and subsequently tortured until they found out the Vanderlyn gang's location. After he had told them everything, he was decapitated. His eyes were gouged out, and his corpse was sent back to Shady Belle on horseback, tied up in a manner that displayed his head decapitated, eyeless head being held in his cupped hands. Soon after, the O'Driscoll boys ambushed the Shady Belle Manor. In the Saint Denis Seal is a headless woman, indicating the two similarity. Possibly the officials did it on purpose, but who knows? The Wandering Mad Preacher is a deranged man who can be found mumbling to himself and preaching in select spots of creeks and rivers across the states. If the protagonist approaches him, he will ask if they are a blessing he is waiting for, and claim the entire world is cursed. Upon being visited again, he will mention salvation and ramble that he can see the player desperately wants it, but will ultimately not attain it. In other encounter, he will say that he feels ignored, and that God only gave him the entire world as a message that he doesn't understand. After the player says, "Shouldn't that be enough?" he replies that it isn't even close and mumbles that he is somewhat greedy. By 1907, he is still looking for that blessing, although he expresses it that he is beginning to lose his faith. The Fort Riggs Veterans Story. The fort was abandoned at some point and only its wooden structures remain partially intact. Several dilapidated teepees sit within the decaying walls and a mass gravesite is located adjacent of the lower portion of the hill. During the game, the player can meet with a drunk stranger. If the player gives the stranger a bottle of whiskey, the stranger will then tell the player his story. The stranger is a U.S. Army veteran who used to stationed at Fort Riggs. He tells the player that a lot of Native Americans were suppressed and held captive in the fort. He also states that U.S. Army ended up killing a lot of the Indians in the fort. In the central buildings of the fort, players can be found a letter that contains the correct spelling of a variety of English words. This is code. When one takes the first letter of each word, the following poem emerges. Waiza comes from the winter breath. His trees stand guard, whispering all night that we sleep in our grave. Father fought and died so quickly. Mother dies slow. It is interesting to see how much backstory each small thing in Red Dead Redemption 2 has.
You're a place called Fort Riggs? South of Strawberry. Captain, Indians penned in there like cattle. I ain't know what's worse. Seeing the ones we killed or watching the other ones die. Slow way. Well, they pay well. Them government boys. But the money don't last long. It's what you did. Sticks around.
The panoramic map in the Mount Shan sundial. The Red Dead Redemption 2 panoramic map can be found during a random encounter in the Grizzly Mountains. You will see a corpse appear on your map, which will lead you to a fair of frozen settlers. Pull the map from their hands to find the first piece of the puzzle. The map seems to lead to a point near the peak of Mount Shan, to the north of Strawberry. The lines all point to white spots on the map that all correlate with major towns of the game. From left to right, Valentine, Saint Denis, Rhodes, Blackwater, and Strawberry are all pointed to. Up on the high ridge just below the southwest peak of the mountain, you can jump across a small gap to reach what appears to be another set of similar markings. The location revealed by these markings have yet to be deciphered. The markings are very close to the giant skeleton in the spot where you can sight one of the 2 UFOs in the world. A stone with markings can also be found toward the southeast base of the mountain. The markings appear to depict what looks like 2 alien figures, a crescent moon, lighting, 4 circles, and some smaller stick figure people. I'm all think that these markings in the sundial are made by the aliens and the UFOs. The Cohola Springs Exploding House. In Cohola Springs, there's a house that can be ridden past, and once you get close enough, it will explode. The explosion is so large that it actually bucks you off of your horse. The most likely reason for this explosion is a failed moonshine operation. This caused the place to explode. The legendary channel catfish is a rare species of fish found in Red Dead Redemption 2. Jeremy Gill tried to catch it during a Fisher of Fish 2. The legendary channel catfish is rumored to inhabit in San Luis River. Fishermen have tried for years to catch this fish, but no one has ever been successful. Reports suggest that the fish prefers overcast weather. The size of this fish could be over 90 inches long and weighing around 180 pounds, which might be the reason the catfish has never, or may never, be caught. While the legendary channel catfish cannot be seen in-game, it has a fully rendered model unused in the game's files. It is roughly 4 times the size of an ordinary channel catfish. Attempting to spawn it with the use of mods will cause the model to glitch. However, it does not have any functioning swimming animation. The player can kill it and manage to get it on land, and it will cause it to roll around. While riding around the map, most likely around the southern region of the map, you can stumble across Ghost Train. In order to find the train, mount your horse and ride up and down the rails in this area at around 3 a.m. You cannot interact with this train in any way, but it is a very mysterious and creepy secret nonetheless. The Blackwater Aztec Code. In Red Dead Redemption 2, you can come across a number of weird carvings and markings all throughout the city of Blackwater. And I found the answer for this code in Reddit, and I personally don't understand any part of this decoding, so I'll just put the analysis on the screen. But, in the end, it basically means, blessed are the peacemakers, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, and the blank was the god on Red Dead Redemption 1. Possibly meaning Undead Nightmare coming to Red Dead Redemption 2? Who knows? But it's a very cool and interesting secret though. The Mystery Site is an unofficial name for the unmarked location in Red Dead Redemption, near Repentance Rock. There is a deer pelt on the ground with cryptic markings on it, surrounded by 3 rune stones with various symbols carved into them, placed at north, west, and east. There's also a plate at the southernmost point of the configuration with carvings on it: a sun, a large man, a devil-like man, a spear or tree, and what appears to be a buffalo. The player cannot interact with the objects in any way. Most of the symbols resemble those found in paganism or Sumerian cultures. Who knows how recent these markings are? They could be very old or even ancient. Then they are obviously demonic in nature. And who knows who put the markings here, or why they did? We may never know. The phonograph shack is the location in Red Dead Redemption 2. Aboard a dilapidated houseboat moored in Bluewater Marsh is a phonograph, a gleaming symbol of the technological advancement that had driven settlers ever westward, and put the cowboys of old out of business. To whom this device in the floating domicile belongs to is unknown. The song playing is called Dixie. Not much else is known about the swamp. Pretty creepy and eerie nonetheless. The bobcat is an animal found in Red Dead Redemption 1. They are a medium-sized predatory cat, generally found in Mexico, or northwest of tall trees in West Elizabeth. Although similar to the cougar, they are weaker and also do less damage. However, they are some of the fastest animals in the game. Due to their relative scarcity, their parts are worth almost twice as much, making them one of the most profitable animals to hunt. They were originally going to be in Red Dead Redemption 2, but they were scrapped. They were also the only animal from the first game not to return in the second. Additionally, the presence of an unused compendium and item image suggests that the bobcat was originally present in Red Dead Redemption 2, but was presumably scrapped late in development. I wonder why Rockstar didn't include the bobcat in Red Dead Redemption 2. Zhao Yi is a minor character featured in Red Dead Redemption 2. Yi is a Chinese man who came to America to search for his cousin named Ming. His corpse can be found at a campsite in Coahuila Springs near Armadillo. It is unknown how he died. If the player loots the corpse, they can find a letter from his uncle named Wei. In the letter, his uncle appreciates his efforts to look for his cousin. His uncle blames Ming's wife, Ziru, for convincing Ming to betray his family by going to America to make a fortune. Wei also considers that Ming's desire to prove himself independent of his family's responsibilities in Shanghai and Hong Kong is neither admirable nor honorable. Now, onto Zhao. Zhao is a minor character and a stranger featured in Red Dead Redemption. He's seen in the Stranger's side mission, Love is Opiate. Zhao is a Chinese immigrant from Shanghai, indentured as a servant for the butcher in El Matadero. Zhao tells the player that his love is waiting for him back home and can't return to her because he's a slave to the butcher. The butcher tells Marston that Zhao is under contract, and if he breaks the contract, he'll owe the butcher $10,000. He then says that if Marston brings him a white stallion, he'll give Zhao his freedom. The white stallion the player needs is a Hungarian half-bred, which can be found anywhere in Nuevo Paraiso, but are usually found around Diaz Cordadas. In the end, with his freedom, Zhao returns to his love. Marston finds him several days later at the train station in Chuporoso, obviously high. Zhao says that he will quit tomorrow. Marston walks away, and this is the last time the player sees or ever hears about Zhao. And obviously Zhao's love is opium. And so in Red Dead Redemption 2, the player finds the corpse of Zhao Yi and loot a letter from his uncle Zhao Wei. The letter reveals that Yi was looking for his cousin Zhao Ming, who is likely the Zhao later encountered by Marston in Mexico. Wei mentions that Ming had married a woman named Ziru and gone to America to make his fortune, independently from his family, much to Wei's disapproval. So it is all connected, from the first and then to the second game. A very cool mini-story in small detail from Rockstar. El Huco Cave is a cut contact cave in Guarma. It has 2 entrances and is huge in size. This was most likely for the larger expansion for the island of Guarma. Guarma was supposed to be a large map available for the player to explore, most likely open world, and I think this cave is just one of those things that were supposed to be part of the larger map. A cut mission in Red Dead Redemption was to feature a giant and a dwarf. Marston was going to get the giant and a dwarf to meet. as the two were alone and needed company. However, their meeting didn't go as planned, and Marston has a choice on whether or not to kill the giant. This mission is considered to be a modified form of the Cut mission. Not much else is known about this weird and wacky mission. The Guarma Relics. Like I said earlier about the El Hueco Cave, Guarma was once supposed to be a lot larger map than what we received in the full Red Dead Redemption. In reality, we only received 5% of the whole Guarma map, and one of the things taken out of that was supposed to be the implemented was Guarma Relics. These relics were found in the game files with fully fleshed out models. These relics were most likely supposed to be part of a mission or for the compendium. The relics all include ancient statues and pieces of ancient civilizations. Very cool nonetheless, and I've played this game for years and never even heard about these before. I wonder how much isn't even covered yet in the world of Red Dead Redemption. Dorman Crest is a structure found in Red Dead Redemption 2 in the Grizzlies West region of the Ambarino territory. This location features a small, single-room wooden shack and the cooker of a campfire outside. Littered around the house are barrels, crates, and bear traps and supports. Behind the wooden door is a small, cold room with a dirt floor. The windows of the shack have no glass in them, and, because the surrounding area is covered in snow, it is extremely cold. It appears the inhabitant tried to recover the open holes. One window was broken with shutters closed over them, and the other had the fabric from a corn sack hung in front of it. A single bed sits in the corner of the room, and a pair of tennis racket snowshoes can be found lying beside it. At the foot of the bed is a wooden cabinet with jars, pots, and pans sitting on the shelves. A stone fireplace stands in the middle of the wall facing the door, and a table and a single chair sits next to it. A lantern hung to the air by a rope lights the small cabin at night. Numerous pieces of paper and posters hang on the walls. Using Eagle Eye, the player can follow a track from the door of the shack up over a hill into the top of a mountain. Here, a dead man, frozen solid by the bitter cold snow, sits upright, holding a carbine repeater. This weapon can be taken from the man and kept by the player. The man who is dead outside of the cabin has no visible injuries pointing to his death, most likely froze to death while hunting. Osmond Grove is a cabin found in Red Dead Redemption 2, in the Roanoke Ridge region of the New Hanover Territory. It lies across from the border of Emerald Station, east and slightly south. Due east further from the grove, across the Kamasaw River, is Mossy Flats. Upon arrival, the player will discover the corpses of a small family inside the cottage. The cause is the pipe from the furnace being broke and the doors locked from the inside, trapping all the smoke inside, suffocating the whole family. The smoke inside left the entire family dead. The family didn't even understand what happened until they were all dead. Not very mysterious, but a very sad story. There are many cool wanted posters throughout the entirety of the story of Red Dead Redemption 2, but funny enough, none of the gang members have any wanted posters, even though they are some of the most wanted men in the country. So there are a few cool cut wanted posters, including Arthur Morgan. It would have been cool if this was added to the game, and not sure why they got rid of it anyway. Dutch's wanted poster in Micah's camp. While Micah was away from camp in Chapter 2, he was planning a robbery he ended up doing with Arthur. But in the meantime, when he was waiting for Arthur, he made his own camp. In this camp, you can find Dutch's wanted poster, offering $1,000. Many people think different about his wanted poster in his camp. Was he thinking about the reward and turning Dutch in? Or was he already working with the Pinkertons and just looking at the Dutch's worth? No one knows for sure, but it's definitely suspect that he had Dutch's wanted poster in the camp and he turned out to be the rat. Valentine's Curse is an often talked about theory throughout the town of Valentine, with shopkeepers and townsfolk all saying how unlucky the town of Valentine is and how they think it is cursed. The Curse of Valentine, a haunting spectacle, is a news article which can be found in the New Hanover Gazette. It reads, The town of Valentine has reported many strange sights and sounds in recent years, and residents speak of a curse that has fallen on the area. Spectral canoes have been seen on the water, and the cries of mourning Indian mothers have been heard at night. At other times, usually on windy, starlight evenings, piercing cries are even heard from the distance. Residents claim that it is due to the Indian family murdered years ago with a treasure that they had found. The reports are uncanny, yet from several sources, and the prevalence of Indian artifacts around town have only increased the locals' excitability. Not only that, but even gang members at camp will talk about the curse in Valentine. A conversation takes place between Karen and Mary Beth at Horseshoe Overlook, which mentions that the curse was put on the town by the last remaining Native Americans in the country before a massacre. So what do you think? Do you think the town is cursed, or just continually unlucky? The Skinner brothers are a gang of ruthless killers and thieves who move from place to place to hunt and kill animals and people alike. The Skinners are notorious for their cruel and sadistic acts and horrific tortures. They're known to, among many things, scalp, dismember, disembowel, roast and flay people alive, being less like an outlaw gang and more like a cult of deranged serial killers. Unlike other gangs, they have very little interest in money. Appearing to survive off of scavenging and hunting, they seem to be nomadic and completely cut off from civilization. As such, the gang has no formal dress code, though many of them do possess a large, unkept beards and scruffy clothing as a result of their lifestyle. Also, unlike most gangs, they have no base of operations, an account of their nomadic lifestyle, instead living in primitive camps, either their own or ones seized from their victims. Although, in Red Dead Redemption 1, Dutch has recreated his own new gang, consisting of very similar characteristics as the Skinner brothers, consisting of Native Americans and very aggressive people, and working out of a similar place in geography. So in theory, Dutch joined the Skinner brothers and became the leader of their gang. Interesting theory, considering Dutch joined and befriended a very aggressive type of people, and almost nothing like the previous Vanderlyn gang. Cool theory, nonetheless, but is it true? Emerald Ranch in Cayo Perico Heist. Emerald Ranch is a popular farming town in the game of Red Dead Redemption 2. Although in GTA Online, you can go on the Cayo Perico Heist. While in the main compound, you can look at pictures in the compound of El Rubio. The pictures include photos of the Emerald Ranch. Many think that Rockstar just added these pictures to GTA Online just as a reference to their other main title. But I think differently. I think this could possibly be canon, that the worlds of GTA and Red Dead Redemption are actually connected, and El Rubio is a great descendant of some family at Emerald Ranch. Who knows though? Cool detail anyway. Where did Dutch hide the Blackwater money? Many speculate where the Blackwater money had gone, so I'll be going in on the topic of where the Blackwater money went. I know it's said that the money John gets from the cabin at the end of American Venom is the remnants of the take from the Blackwater Ferry heist, but I don't think it is. The sack of money John takes is identical to the one that Arthur can attempt to receive in Red Dead Redemption, and even has the same amount of money in it, roughly $20,000. It's definitely speculation, but I'm certain that the Blackwater money was never retrieved, and that money at the end of American Venom is the same as the end of Red Dead Redemption. I know Micah's finances are never covered in detail, but I doubt he could spend $130,000 by himself and still be living in an abandoned shack on a mountainside. This is even more speculative, but maybe Dutch came back to West Elizabeth in RDR to finally retrieve the money, and he roped his new gang into terrorizing the area to provide a distraction just like he did with Eagle Flies in 1899. So in reality, there's no definitive answer. No one knows whether Micah's gang spent all the money or Dutch hid it somewhere no one will ever find. But sadly, no one knows, but it's fun to speculate on what happened to it. The Compton's Stead Well Mystery. Compton's Stead is a house that was used by a slave owner. The house is accessible, but what's interesting is the well outside. If you go down the well, you can find a number of coins and scratches and markings. There seems to have been a person down in the well at some point, most likely a slave, because the old owner was a slave owner, and most likely kept or punished his slaves there. A sad and interesting find, nonetheless. Hosea's sickness. Hosea is known as Dutch's right-hand man, helping with planning and carrying out multiple robberies throughout the gang history. Although, one thing many people don't know is that Hosea was sick. Even many people in the gang commenting on his deteriorating health, all talking about his lungs. Hosea was obviously suffering from a lung disease of some sort. The most likely disease he would have had would be lung cancer. Hosea was the oldest member of the gang at the age of 55, so at that age developing some sort of cancer. As well, he was a heavy smoker, and that is a definite result of heavy smoking, lung cancer. Another theory on the sickness is tuberculosis. I don't agree with this theory because his health would have deteriorated a lot more in a quicker time. Even at his death, he was still relatively healthy enough to take part in gang activities. So sadly, Hosea had lung cancer and would have died nonetheless. Skinwalkers are a Native American folklore legend, taking the embodiment of animals and trying to harm and eat humans. But sadly, I couldn't find much on skinwalkers in Red Dead Redemption. But I did find a skinwalker page on the Red Dead Wiki, and it's weird and interesting nonetheless, but I just thought I would add it anyways. And the wiki includes half hunter, half warrior, half manimal. These guys are just crazy. They do just everything. Embody animals, the human bear trap, the yank and shank, the raptor in waiting, the death day cake. What's the death day cake? It's that thing of when, like, a man being stalked hides inside of a deer or horse carcass, and when Liam Neeson walks up to inspect the over-the-top mess, Pierce Bronson lunges out with a knife and turns the tables. We do a version of that. Sometimes we embody little kittens sitting on the dinner table. Go ahead and let your guard down. If you regard us on the frontier, you'll have to do it non-verbally, because we will be doing it on a private chat. If you regard us with bullets out on the frontier, be prepared to experience it coming back your day with sevenfold. We are the portals of balance for the universe. Instant, appropriate feedback of your action is what you'll get, unless we don't care, in which case you can just run away and do something else. We are the instruments of healing. Healing through humiliation. We are vessels roving across this plane. We are skinwalkers. Very weird and creepy nonetheless. And go ahead and do your own research on this topic, because I'd like to know more and I couldn't find anything else. So if you guys find anything, just let me know in the comments below. The devil has gotten into that beast. If you visit the Tumbleweed Church in Red Dead Redemption 1 and take a look at the church's pulpit, the words, "The devil has gotten into that beast," are graffitied on the top, which refers to the dark horse. The horse was supposed to be covered in scars. And this is, in reality, sounds a lot creepier than it actually is, but it's just a very secret cheat code that was actually scrapped from the game and never added. The Sawbone Clearing Unmarked Grave. The unmarked grave is an unmarked location in Red Dead Redemption 2. In the middle of a forest, halfway from Van Horn to Iceberg, there's a strange grave. Not marked on the game's map, but it does appear to be a buried corpse, marked with a stick crucifix. There's name Bennett engraved on the wood. It is most likely one of the three brothers that appear in the game's lore, but there are many also connections with the Sawbone Clearing. It's a cabin near the grave that may look like it's abandoned, but there's a woman named Mrs. Londonderry that lives there with her son. The whole structure is mysterious nonetheless, and it's been said that strange occurrences may take place during the nighttime, and it's not possible to enter the Sawbone Clearing cabin in Freebone. It's most likely just Mrs. Londonderry's son that passed away earlier, but who knows. As well with approaching Sawbone Clearing, or the Bennett's grave itself, it causes the game to play a very strange and creepy ambient music during day and night. The place around the gravestone is especially spooky during the foggy weather. These conditions also cause the players to mistakenly notice human-like figures in scary shapes that are in fact just bushes and small trees. It has also been said that if a player is riding on a horse around the nighttime, the horse may get a little bit nervous. Not much is known about this clearing, but it's very creepy and eerie nonetheless, especially since it has no definitive answer for why it makes your player and horse scared.